Hello. Oh, we're all here. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hello, how you
Yay!
doing?
Big thumbs up. Everything is working. Hello, everybody that is joining the webinar as you are all joining. So I wanted to welcome you to this live masterclass on local service ads with our lovely guests, Ben Fisher and Crystal Horton. So a couple of housekeeping bits before we get started with the LSA magic. I need to remind you that this session is recorded and it's going to be live on the YouTube channel, I think as soon as this is finished. So you can rewatch it there. So it is recorded and it will be on YouTube. And also a little reminder we're going to cover a lot of stuff today. So it is quite likely that you might want to continue the conversation, which you can do so in the Facebook group, which is the local pack. And Jenny's going to share the link. Here it is. I'm sure she's going to share the link so you can join that afterwards. And so we can just crack on. So I would love to introduce you to Ben Fisher, who's going to tell us a little bit about himself now.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you for having us. Hi, everybody. If you don't know who I am, I'm Ben Fisher. I'm a Google My Business. Oh, well, actually, it's not Google My Business anymore. Come on. It's Google Business Profile.
Oh.
Product expert. And we also are a large managed partner when it comes to local service ads. So that just means that we have a really cool, awesome, dedicated contact over there, which is pretty amazing people, actually. And yeah, that's really about it. In steady demand, our company does. We local SEO. We do a lot of course, Google Business Profile Management work. And we're probably most well known for the spam work we do, and as well as the Google Business Profile reinstatements.
We just put the GMB in there to, it's always a conversation point, and it shows how old we are. You know, we were going to write Google Places, but
I'll just go all the way back to Google Local. Come on.
Thank you very much, Ben. And now I would like to introduce you all to Crystal.
Hello, everyone. I am a newly appointed gold product expert as of last week. I work closely with Ben. Local services ads is also one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm looking forward to reading the comments, seeing your questions, and sharing the details today.
Brilliant. I am very excited. Local service ads is not something that I know very much about, and paid in general, but I understand that it is super important, and when you can get organic and paid to work hand in hand, and it's very, very powerful. So I'm really looking forward to what you have to say. So the way that this is going to work is we're going to have our live masterclass, which you've put together some slides. That might run over 30 minutes, and that's absolutely fine because we're here to learn and we really, really want to get the most out of that content. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have Q&A. So if you've got Q&As, our audience, please pop them in I believe there's a question box, pop them in there because we should get some time to look at that afterwards. So Ben is actually going to share his screen so we can see his slides and Crystal's slides. That's going to happen. Meanwhile, Crystal and I will do a small dance to amuse everybody as we wait. Just a small dance.
Oops, you didn't say, hold on. See, and we knew this was going to happen. We knew it.
It's fun though because it's live.
It's so live. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
No pre-recording here.
No, exactly. All right. Geez, gotta hit the share, then you gotta do this, and you gotta do that. All right. Now you should see my screen. Right?
Oh,
yes, I hope so.
Yes, Ben. Okay. Big thumbs up. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So I can't tell. So anyway. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome. We're looking forward to doing this masterclass, Crystal and I. So we are going to kind of go back and forth in a couple of these sections. The other cool thing is that we're going to do is every slide should have a takeaway. We've got 42 slides, so we might not get to the spam section. So we're just going to kind of get straight on into it. All right. So with that, as you know, basically, what are we covering today? We're going to be covering the LSA dashboard, and we're going to go over some tips and tricks. As you know, or if you don't know, actually, local services ads are usually the three, like the Google Guaranteed or the Google Screened, which are at the top of Google Search and also at the top of mobile. So when you go in, the first place you're going to start out in the LSA dashboard is going to be in business verification. This is where you'll always get started. And one of the things that we recommend here is that every 2 to 4 weeks, you just come into this section, take a look around, and click on like license and insurance. And you just want to make sure that they haven't expired. If they do, then your ads will eventually end up basically stop running. Okay, so let's talk about the business license. You're going to go ahead and you would upload your business license. The tip that we want is, this is basically part of your screening process. And you must get past this point to start running local services ads. Also, the business license, of course, must be current and valid. The tip that we want to give here is that you can actually skip putting in the business name and it'll still go through. So it's just one little tip, one little less thing that you need to do. Now, proof of insurance. The interesting part about proof of insurance is that basically Google has an AI sweep in the morning of all the LSA accounts looking for new insurance documents. And if you use the business name in the tip, if you use the business name in their certificate of insurance file name, it's actually going to get approved faster than 2 days. All right, next thing, background check. So the background check, this is where you're going to start. You will be going to Evident, which I'll show you in about a second what that kind of looks like. And the big takeaway here is that it's very difficult to get everybody to do the background check if you're letting everybody kind of do it one at a time. So what we have found to be very effective is to get the owner as well as all of your techs in one location, kind of like a classroom in a way, and have everybody go through this process with Evident to get cleared as far as the background check goes, at least get it started. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck at this phase for quite a while. So you'll just click on that button and it brings you to the Evident page. You will have to sign in with Google. The only tip here is it's a small one, but it's a tip, and that is you want to make sure you click those 2 little blue boxes there. You won't be able to proceed until you do that. Next thing, so once you're inside, you'll be able to add your owners and your field workers. And basically, it's going to need to either be a business email or a Gmail account. It will send everybody an email to come and start the background check process. And if they don't get it, just take a look in your spam folder. They seem to end up there quite often, actually. All right. Next thing, as far as reviews goes, basically here is where you can set your URL to get quote unquote, they call them verified reviews. This can take 3 days basically to first sync with your Google business profile. And then basically the blue link at the bottom is what you can do to start getting your link. And once you do this, you'll go ahead, the link will be set here. You confirm your selection. And if you ever need to change this link, you can call LSA. You can't change it inside of the dashboard itself. The second to last part is setting the budget. You can select from the list, or you can create your own amount. And the cool thing about this, of course, is that you will be able to come back and change this later. And then lastly is the billing section. The billing section is going to basically give you a link so you can get to your AdWords account if you need it.
The next tab in the LSA dashboard menu is leads. So from this page, you've got the new box on the left, which is highlighted in blue. Check this box daily. That's our helpful tip because, and move those leads over. It mainly consists of message leads or calls that are less than 30 seconds that usually are not charged. The box next to that is active, and this is where the majority of leads are. The box next to that is booked. Once the lead is marked booked, it will show up here in this box. The next box is completed. So if leads are marked as done, they'll show up in this section. And then archive is what it is. Disputed leads go here. You can also download a list of leads from each box with the blue download button in the top left. When you click on a lead, it'll show this box. You can listen to the call, you can enter lead details, you can mark it as booked here or dispute the lead. AI listens to the calls. LSA Live Support does not have access to the recordings. A helpful tip when you're disputing leads, scroll down because there are 2 additional options that you can see. Under booking details, you can enter an email address, you can ask for an LSA verified review, and you can also make notes for yourself.
All right. And so now we're going to just get into a little bit about reporting. This is another section that you're going to probably spend a little bit of time in on at least a weekly basis. So you should definitely be familiar with it. Here you can customize this report to view the week, last week, the month, or even the next month. There's also a custom setting so you can check, for instance, when the account started. The budget spent is the total amount that you were charged. The leads charged is the number of charged leads that you received in a period from potential clients who basically saw your ad. And the booking percentage rate, that's going to populate from the leads that you had marked as booked. The report detail, this page is, it's great to come back here. You can see basically the leads that you have. And this is at the bottom of the page. And you can sort by basically if it's charged and also the appointment type. And here in the GPP the review section, GPP reviews are going to show 3 days later on your LSA. And also you can basically go and click on ask a review. So you can ask for verified reviews if you have put an email in the lead details screen.
Profile and budget. Now this is where you'll spend most of your time in LSA besides the leads tab. In this top section, you can turn the ad on or pause it, set the ad schedule, and confirm your business details as well as adding your business bio details. In the business bio, there are separate tabs. Check what is appropriate. If you have multiple categories, it will show up here. Check what's appropriate for each category. You can select up to 6 business bio options. If you are BBB accredited, only select 5, then contact LSA to add your accreditation. The next section is budget and job types. Depending on the category, set a realistic budget that is balanced with what your max bid. If you ask for too much, you may not get it. And if you ask for too little, you definitely will not get it. A helpful tip is that Google doesn't want to go over the budget that you have set. So if you are close to hitting the budget goal, the green check mark will disappear from your profile, which will decrease your rank on the list until the following week with a new budget goal. When it comes to the bidding mode, let Google decide rather than manually setting the max bid. The best use of the max bid is when you have multiple job types listed under one LSA account. For job types, select the services that you want. It's also important to keep this in mind because you can use this for disputing purposes. You can also add multiple categories, but this will trigger a new license verification. So be sure to check and add the correct licensing information underneath the business verification. The next section is photos and settings. On the left, where the settings are, if you toggle message leads on, be sure to respond within 24 hours. It's a ranking factor. For photos, add at least one photo in every tab. They will show up on your LSA profile, and they're there to assist you with conversions. So you can add a cover photo, logo, projects, workplace photos, as well as equipment, vehicles, and team photos.
All right. And so the next part that we're going to go over basically is the service areas and business hours. So the interesting thing here is that this is not for actually the hours portion. It's not for when you want to show up in LSA. They can actually be separate than what is in your Google business profile. However, what a lot of people don't know is that these hours do actually affect your ranking. So as far as business hours go, the only real tip here is that when you edit it, you can choose a status. And the status is you're taking customers or you are temporarily closed. When you're doing your service areas, this part's really important. You want to start with your county, then your city. And then if you haven't covered all the areas that you want to cover, you'll go ahead and you'll select the zip codes. You can also very handily exclude service areas as well in this screen. So that's very useful if you don't, for instance, say want to travel an hour to get to someplace. Profile and budget. If you can use it, I mean, as far as scheduling goes, I'm sorry, scheduling. If this is available for you, you should absolutely use it. You can pick a third-party partner. And the cool part about it is it will add a little book icon to your profile. So just another way to get conversions.
The next tab in the menu is billing. The link for Google Ads will take you to a billing section to make changes to your information. If you get an email with a promotional code for a credit, it goes here. This tab is not to market promotions for your business. The next tab in the menu is account access. This is where you can invite users to manage your account. A helpful tip is when you are sending an invite, the email domain will need to be added under the security tab in order to send an invitation to access the account. And yes, you have to put gmail.com.
Actually, that's it. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. Well,
Great.
it's almost like it wasn't as long as you thought, but there was a lot of stuff in there. And looking at the chat and the questions that we've got coming in, it's actually quite good that it was slightly condensed, because I think you have people are like, right, okay, question about that. So it means that we can get straight to it. That was brilliant. Thank you very much. It was lovely to run through all of those sections and see all those parts like in the dash, because I've never seen it. It's like an unexplored world for me. So it was really, really good. So I think that we're going to go straight to questions.
Cool.
So I think we will see them coming up. I'll read them and then we'll go for it. So Gabby asks, can you do an overview of who should do these ads and what type of businesses they work well for? So it's a brilliant starter question there from Gabby.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to give a link really quick to all of the different service types that are acceptable. So I'll just start off really quick and then pass it over to Crystal. And that is that, I think it's available for basically anybody who does like home types of services, but it's also available for healthcare, for instance, like dentists that just launched in January. Mm-hmm. They've even launched out even to more categories, and we can expect more to come. I think in general, as long as you're not like a personal injury attorney out of California specifically, or in a very competitive marketplace, it can be very useful. The average conversion rate is around 60%.
Whoa.
Yes. And the leads can be really cheap based on the type of category. Crystal, your thoughts?
Right. It definitely, the difference too is between like pay per click is that you're paying per lead, not necessarily per impression.
Yeah.
And so that's what's very attractive to the service area businesses.
I'm not going to do that thing where I start asking my questions on top. Everyone will be glad to hear. Okay.
Come on, why not?
No.
We got time.
Do you think it works better for service area businesses than bricks and mortar then? Or am I just getting the wrong end of the stick?
I do.
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because you're focused more on phone calls and message inquiries as opposed to walk-ins.
Okay. Because that's interesting because, home services is usually service area business. And obviously dentists, they not so much. They don't tend to come to your house and yank your teeth out. So
I would hope not.
It's probably a thing here in Wales, to be fair. Okay.
I think it's interesting though, because LSA just came out with dental. So I am super fascinated with figuring out how that's going to work.
Yes.
But I think if you're scheduling appointments, like the booked appointment portion that we showed, that can also play a good role there.
Oh, I'd love to hear some feedback on that when you start working on those ads for the bricks and mortar. That would be really interesting to hear.
Definitely.
Okay, next question. Okay, Jessica asks, am I only able to run local ads for those that are on Google Guarantee? Can I run local maps on those categories? Noting Google Guarantee, I don't quite understand that bit. I'm not doing PPC. I have some clients that only want to do Google Maps ads. Now, is this pointing to a little bit of people's uncertainty about the different types of ads, or is that just me projecting that into that question?
I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I mean, there are different types, of course, of local types of ads. You have the local extension, right, which can put your reviews and calls basically on pay-per-click.
So that's if you're just running Google ads rather than local LSA, local
services ads.
Too many,
right?
too
local
many.
Search ads, LSA. It's a little bit different, but I am noticing in Google Maps that they are selecting more the sponsor section or the ad section. They're selecting more of the LSA profiles, but I noticed off to the right, you have those pins that also showcase different ads as well. So I believe you can run all those ad sets there.
Yep.
I wonder if the two of you, and you don't need to do it now, can think of a really good resource, which is a really good post which explains the different types of ads and what they look like, because it sounds like we need to see that. You've seen this, that's that type of ad, this is how you run them, you've seen this, that's that. For me, that's what's missing in the local space is like a one-stop shop for that type of content that explains that.
Sounds like an article that we should all work on here, Claire.
It does, doesn't it? Should we do that?
Yes.
Let's do that. Great, let's do that. Okay, let's have the next question, please. A question of many parts, Ronnie. Google LSA reps tell us that for our clients to improve their LSA rankings, they should increase their service area, have their ads running 24/7 and turn on messaging, and therefore spend much more money at Google. What do you think of this?
Absolutely. I do notice that accounts that have those things listed do perform better as far as ranking higher on the list.
Okay, but Ronnie says that their clients don't want to increase their service area over and above the area they serve, have calls coming in at times they will not answer their phones. Oh my gosh, is there another part? Or use messaging that they will not respond to. What would be your advice to improve their rankings other than increasing the budget?
Ooh, that's a good one, Crystal.
So if you turn messaging off, that's okay. it only becomes a ranking factor for the response rate. So when you turn messaging on, if you don't respond within 24 hours, that counts as a missed call, but it doesn't affect you by having that part on or off. I can totally understand why you wouldn't want to increase the service areas. And I would say play around a little bit with the hours. You can set your ad schedule to different hours, and then you can just look at your business hours, play a little bit with that, test it, wait a week, and see if there's any change there.
Is there a quality score for local service ads like there is for Google Ads?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, right? The quality score is, are you answering your phone? That's the big portion of, I think, really about it. Reviews, of course, are extremely important when it comes to LSA, which is why we see a ton of LSA spam. Companies I opened up like 2 weeks ago have 2,000 reviews.
Yeah.
Verified, by the way. But seriously, I mean, I think those are the biggest ranking factors as far as that goes for quality score. What do you think, Crystal?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And within those quality scores of the calls, it's how quickly are you answering and are you scheduling those calls?
Yeah, because Google, at the end of the day, that's what they want this to work, right? They want this to work for the customer. They want it to work for the merchant. They want the merchants to get a fair share of the leads that are in the area, And of course, they're getting paid for this, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a service, isn't it? Yeah, and it needs to be good.
So, but that's why they back it up with a Google guarantee, right? They're going to give you up to $2,000 as a consumer if you get ripped off.
Brilliant. Thank you. Let's see what we've got next. Bob asked, what are they looking for with the background checks? Police records? What if an employee has a police record? Does that disqualify the business? So background checks, what are they all about?
That's a good one. Go for it, Crystal.
Okay, so background check is your typical employment check. They're just looking for safety, seeing if there's any type of you hurt somebody, for example, because now you're going out to these houses and Google's guaranteeing you. It can disqualify the business, and you might have to start over without that field worker.
Yeah. And we've even seen this sometimes happen with the owner.
Yes. Oh, and now that you say that, Ben, when it did happen with the owner, you had to wait 90 days before you could apply again.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Don't have a police record.
Lindsay Jones, when setting the hours, does the temporary closed allow you to set certain dates? So, for example, closed on the 4th of July.
I wish it did. I wish it did. It doesn't. You actually have to sign in the week of and turn it off, and then after turn it back on so you show up next week.
But I think that's a great suggestion for the team. Yes, we can make a feature request on that one.
There we are. Thank you very much, Lindsay, for your feature request. And Ben and Crystal will get that implemented next week, I'm sure. But it's good. So that's obviously something that you would like to see within the dashboard. We've got Troy asking. He's gone.
Oops.
Troy's gone.
Troy had a good question.
Maybe we'll come back to Troy in a bit. We've got Jonathan now, working with an electrician, and so specific locations, but they're not getting good leads. They've got people looking for jobs instead of the service, and just 5 leads in 2 months. What can Jonathan do about that?
Well, that's actually kind of cool that you're an electrician and you got a bunch of people looking for jobs. Yeah. Because that's usually a problem in that industry, is finding good people. Oh. Yeah. When it comes to service business.
Can you sell them on to someone that's
right?
Well, at least the good part, though, is that you can dispute these leads and you don't have to pay for them.
That's true. Yep.
The other thing is, I would take a look at the job types. Do you have other toggled on? A lot of the times I notice when other is toggled on, that's where the majority of the "are you hiring" type of calls come from.
Yeah.
Okay. Good advice. Thank you. Oh, Troy again. Thank you, Jenny.
There's Troy.
We have been getting very few leads, even though our max budget is more than enough. Is that simply a limit in the total leads available, or is there a way to optimize my ad to get more leads?
Gosh, I think this one comes with a ton of it depends answers. The one thing that I'll say before Crystal unleashes her answer, because her answer is going to be amazing, I'll just say really quickly is that yes, there might not be enough leads in the area. That is possible. This can sometimes be discovered, but usually not by your average rep that's going to answer the phone. So we get to hear this information, I guess you could say. But the other thing is that balancing your budget with your bid is extremely important. So if you have a budget and let's say you're doing $1 million a week, if Google can't fulfill your needs and your bid's not balanced properly, then you will get less leads. They will decrease. There's a ton of other stuff that goes along with this. Go for it, Crystal.
I think that's my answer, Ben. But yes, no, if you max the lead out, that's exactly right. The system is thinking, I don't have an answer for what you're looking for. So really just make it more realistic and then slowly increase as leads start coming through.
I mean, there are other things too. Okay, so there's dry periods with LSA. So let's say, for instance, talk a little bit about that, Crystal. I mean, talk a little bit about the 3-month period.
Okay, sure. So what we do recognize is that Google, of course, wants to give everybody a chance on the list at receiving leads, because why else would you participate, right? So if you've got some companies that have a really good 3 months of leads where they're consistently ranking at the top, you see it all the time. Well, all of a sudden, probably about the 4th or the 5th month, everything is cut in half. And then eventually it just stops bringing in leads and you have a new set of companies that are now showing up on the top. And that's just really LSA's way of, okay, you've received your leads. It's somebody else's turn.
Pretty much. Yeah. So as long as you're getting some leads coming in, your profile is probably healthy, I guess is really what it comes down to. It's when those leads stop. That's when you get worried.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting and complicated. Let's have the next question. Trevor, is there a way to accurately check who is already running LSAs in my local community? So a little bit of competitor analysis. How do people get that done?
Yeah. So all you do is just go to Google and type in, personal injury lawyer near me, right? Or a personal injury lawyer zip code. And at the top, you're going to get the Google screened or the Google guaranteed, depending on category. And then you can go ahead and click view more, I think it was labeled, or view all. And then you get the entire list. And anybody who has a check is active. And then there's a list below that, which are not active.
Yeah. There really isn't a way to download that and monitor it like we're used to with Google business profiles or competitors' websites. That's not quite there yet. But I will include a link here in the chat. And this goes straight to the LSA search page. So you can play around with it and select between the services.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Dean asks, why do all landscapers need to be verified, but not interior painters or flooring staff? Because it feels a bit unfair and like people are gaming that.
I believe it has to do with the licensing requirements, isn't it? Because general contractor licensing is required. I think you have to do a background check for that license.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm pretty sure.
And so I think that's how LSA kind of piggybacks off of that. And then landscapers don't necessarily have a license, so they have to go through the background check.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that sounds like that totally makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you. What have we got next? Derek, how do I manage more than
Good question.
20 LSA accounts? I
Good
have to use
question.
different email addresses to manage more, or is there another better solution?
Go for it, Crystal.
Okay, so Google Ads has what is called an MCC account, and this is where you can monitor all LSA accounts underneath that reporting. So,
Yep. And we're probably going to do a follow-up class on this
Yeah,
because there's a whole process of setting up an MCC, which is actually convoluted and horrible. But so when you have your MCC, you can, all right, quickly, you can get access to an LSA account in two different ways. The first way is they go to account access in the dashboard and they just give access to your email address.
mhm.
The second way of doing it is you go into Google, you before your client, go into your MCC Google AdWords account, you go to settings and then you link accounts. You put in the 10-digit ID for their LSA. And then, yes, Lacey, that's it. My Client Center. Thank you. I always actually forget that. I just call it an MCC.
So many. How can we remember all of these?
I know, exactly. So GBP, remember?
MCC?
GBP, MCC. So anyway, so you link the account. It sends an email saying that your account has requested access, and then it puts it into your MCC. So this way, when you go into local service ads, you're either going to see a list of your clients, which is annoying, or you'll go into your MCC dashboard, which has all of your clients, and it's much easier to use.
Okay.
Well, and
Right.
I definitely like that MCC because it gives you a better picture of what's going on as far as how many leads come in that interface.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yes, everyone loves the idea of an MCC masterclass and setting sort of systems and processes up. So watch this space. Christian, what do you recommend a business like a personal injury attorney that is ultra competitive market and has much less reviews than competitors? How can we win this?
This is a tough category.
2 words. Good luck.
It's a tough category, especially because it ranks based off of review count and then star rating. So I would definitely focus on star rating to see if you can increase rank that way, if there's improvement there. But if you're at a 5.0, you're kind of just waiting for LSA to pick your profile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, so in the personal injury space, I mean, we all know how competitive that is, right? But there's things that also are happening on the back end with LSA. Like, for instance, there was this huge lawyer bug last month. Is it actually even resolved yet, Crystal? Do you remember?
It has been resolved for the most part. It started around March, yeah.
Okay. So sometimes there's just, like in that case, there was a bug, right? But there's all sorts of bugs that happen with LSA. For instance, your license could be expired and you wouldn't even know it because it shows up. It looks like it's fine on your side. But if you actually call LSA and have them check, they'll be like, oh, no, your license is actually expired on our side. Oops, sorry.
Good point.
So it's a very little known fact. But to answer your question, I guess, directly, it's like Crystal was saying, is like the only thing that you could do is start getting more reviews and
get more reviews. Yeah.
Make sure you're answering your calls.
I see Christian's help in capital letters in comments.
Sorry.
I know your pain.
Sorry, Christian.
I know your pain.
We actually have a standing policy with LSA. And that is our policy is when a customer comes to us, they basically, usually they're not getting leads, right? And so we tell them very simply, and this is good for all your agencies to know this maybe, is that we say, look, we're going to work with our contacts at LSA, but if things aren't going to happen in 3 months, you got to take a break.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do this at the moment, because it could also be that dry spell.
Nikolai just asked a question just to follow up from that. When we talk about more reviews, we're saying more reviews from the LSA dashboard rather than GMB reviews, aren't we? Or we're speaking about GMB reviews?
No, they're
What
both.
were you talking about before?
They're weighted equally.
Okay, both of them.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
like you can even double dip and get somebody who reviews you on GBP to review you as on LSA.
Perfect. There we are,
also
Nicola.
Make a note though, especially with lawyers, there is a delay with verified reviews on some profiles that I'm starting to see, where a verified review was left 2 weeks ago and it is still going through the spam filter, LSA spam filter, where LSA will say, oh yeah, we see the review, it just hasn't finished filtering yet, and it doesn't populate for a while. So keep that in mind too.
God, these are some great questions.
I love these questions.
They really are.
Thomas, any thoughts on third-party tools or sites to help simplify results and tracking, ranking and that type of thing? Or is it still quite manual at the moment?
It's definitely still quite manual.
Still quite manual.
So someone needs to add this to their tool set then, do they?
Bright Locals, LSA ranking.
Yes.
So Thomas, sadly, you have to do the legwork and just look at it yourself. Justin, is there a way to automatically schedule appointments from LSA based on the geographic location of your existing appointments service calls?
There is, but that's only if you're using those 4 selected choices, the third party that LSA allows. Other than that, there is no other way.
Yep. And if you're using something like Service Titan, make sure you check your settings, because you can easily get double booked very quickly.
Yes,
and guess what? If that
absolutely.
happens, you're still going to pay for the leads.
You still have to pay for the leads.
Do you remember what that setting is? I can't. I don't off the top of my head.
I do not. And, actually, with Service Titan, I always recommend to call the Service Titan customer support so they help you set it up correctly.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. What is the best way, Larry asks, to dispute LSA lead who is calling about getting a job or employment, not the customer? So what do you do?
Click on the lead and click on the 3 dots and hit dispute and say, I think it's not a customer.
Okay.
Yeah, not a customer or wrong number sales call. Those actually do. I have seen those sometimes where you're disputing the lead. It's clearly in the recording that they're asking for a job and it gets denied. At that point, even though LSA support cannot listen to the recording, I would still call and ask for them to re-review it.
That's a big tip, by the way.
What to make the call to?
Yep.
Okay, call support. Even if they're saying no, then take advantage of the fact that you can get support and someone will speak to you. Brilliant.
You can at least have a second go around with it.
Perfect. So it's worth taking the time to do that. Jonathan says, I have a campaign running right now, but it's not performing well. What can I do to optimize this? Like the $1 million question.
This is.
I love how everybody thinks that like LSA is so simple. It's actually not. There's a ton
moving parts.
There's a ton of levers going on the inside, and it's because it's not all about like turn this on, turn this off. It's turn this on at a specific time. Because there's like, for instance, when you change your bid, I think it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? For the AI to adjust. So, it's like, for instance, right now we've got a bunch of people in the AC, that do HVAC that are adjusting their budgets to get ready for the busy season, basically.
Yes.
But if you wait 3 weeks, you're going to be behind. You're not going to get the leads. Then it goes into a kind of a spiral. But yeah, I mean, what do you think, Crystal? What's some good general advice for this?
Ooh, this is definitely a tough question because you've got those ranking factors, and a lot of the times when I talk about, response rate, get your reviews, and really pay attention to those leads, the question is, well, how do we get the lead to fix the response rate for that timing and such? Sometimes, though, if you call LSA support, they will give you a list or some suggestions of things that you can do, which really it comes down to reviews. So if you haven't had a review in over a week or longer, focus a little more on getting some reviews consistently and monitor the ad that way.
Okay, thank you very much. Joe is asking, what makes a lower review score result show first when the competitors are on max leads, very high budget in the movers category?
Oh, that's a good question. What's the star rating? The strange thing that I saw this morning as well is exactly that, Joe. Complete opposite of what we were told as far as ranking factors, where first it starts with the review count and then it moves into the star rating. The higher, the better, the higher you're on the list. But this one was completely opposite, where it started with 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, and then all of the 5.0s were listed underneath. I had never seen anything that way before until this morning. So I'm wondering if something might be happening that
they might be playing with it.
Of days.
I think it's like an algorithmic shake-up somewhere.
It's Google, right? They don't care what kind of effect it has on anybody. They're going to do their tests, that's for sure.
Yes.
Okay. John asks, did you say that we should target counties, then cities, then add the zip codes within those counties and cities that we don't want to target?
Yes. No. Maybe so.
Yeah. So yes, no, maybe. You heard it here first.
No,
if there's specific areas, then use zip codes.
Right. And then you move on to the exclusion for the places that you don't want to exclude. So
yeah.
Okie dokie, thank you.
Our tip is because Crystal. We typically see those that have a they want to reach as far as they possibly can.
So it's they setting it very wide then, is that why people okay? All right, where's this secret question? Here it is. Why can't I see my LSA in one of the locations, but my colleagues can?
That's interesting.
Don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Tried in incognito? Maybe.
Yeah. I wish I knew an answer.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
Stephen asks, how much control over the size, shape of the service area do you get?
It's much better than Google Business Profiles, I can tell you that.
Yes.
GBP uses a polygon, right? So it can end up being like, diamond shape.
It's just like, what is that?
Which is really weird, but it's based off of coordinates based on Google Maps.
Okay.
That's why. In LSA, it's very, very specific. So it's like if you put in the zip code, it's like, it's like it'll even carve out like little areas inside of an area that are not included in that zip code, which is always fun to look at. But I'd say it's pretty darn accurate.
Yeah. And then too, you just have to make sure of the licensing requirements. Let's say if you go your borderline to another state, an LSA might recognize that as a different state. You've got to make sure you have those licensing requirements in order to cover that area. I also see a lot of questions as far as they can't enter zip codes. If a zip code doesn't populate, that just might mean that there's not enough search volume for that.
Okay.
That's a great tip.
Brilliant. So you need to you need to widen your area.
Mhm.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Oh, calls coming into my business are linked to a cell phone. If the call goes to voicemail, how does it affect the ranking? And would a call center increase ranking because the call is being answered?
That's a great question. We do have a tip for that.
Ooh.
You want to talk about the voicemail tip?
Oh, I was going to let you share the tip because you get so excited.
Fine, I'll go. So, remember, sleep tight, bed bug specialists, that answering phone calls promptly is a ranking factor. Now, that being said, if you have it going to a cell phone, just make sure that your voicemail prompts the user to leave their name, their number, and what they are looking for. The reason is because the AI behind Google is going to listen. The AI listens to this, picks that information up, and then recognizes it as a valid call. So it is a lead. You will be charged for each one that comes through like this, but it will basically skip the whole "oops, I missed a call."
Mhm.
I think that's
Okay.
about it. So, yeah, that's about
Fabulous.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I knew you'd be excited to share, Ben.
it.
And I think it was lovely of you, Crystal, to allow Ben to share.
Thank you.
Very, very kind.
Thank you.
What a lovely team you are. Thomas asks, can you talk about that bug that you saw for lawyers in March? Where can I get more information on that? This bug that is affecting LSAs.
Go for it, Crystal.
Okay.
You got this one.
Yes. If you check business verification, if you go to that page, each of those sections that show past, where it talks about the license, the background check. Oh, actually, sometimes background check shows up on lawyer profiles. Sometimes it doesn't. And then customer reviews and such. Well, if you click on license, it'll populate another section. And so right there, that's where it'll show if your license has passed or if it's invalid.
Okay. I'm not going to be doing LSAs. It's too difficult. Okay.
Oh,
Justin, it's a good job. Best practices to deal with those cheeky fake companies completing in LSAs.
So I'll start. Spam in LSA is worse than it is in GBP. I can say that for a fact. It's easier to game, kind of. Fake reviews in LSA is horrible at this point. Don't everybody just join in because it seems like Google's not taking action. So don't get fake reviews yourself, because otherwise that could damage you in the future.
Right.
And if Google ever catches up to you, they can remove your LSA status and you just won't get it back.
Yeah.
So don't play the game. What you can do is I recommend starting out by checking the licensing entities and seeing if they have multiple licensing entities. So take a look at the top 10, look at all their licenses and see if there's like fractional ownership of the same member or owner. And then you can report that to Google. So we've had some success with that. Not so much success on the review side. Crystal, we just recently took it on a huge network. Any tips from that?
Really just with what you shared, and it was being consistent, and there's always good results in the follow-up. so staying consistent, continuing to follow up and ask about it seems to be what's working right now.
And also on top of that, it's not like GBP spam where usually you're going to get action in 2 weeks. In this case, it's going to be like 3 to 4 months.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's bad.
And it's a paid product.
Yeah. But the thing is you got to look at it from Google's standpoint. And that is that they have done the work to do the background check, through like Evident or Pinkerton. So therefore, it's probably legit.
Right.
As legit as any lead gen scammer, but yes, legit.
Oh, so that's not good news. Is proximity relevant to LSAs and what gets shown?
I think the answer that's yes.
Because it starts with your zip code, which is why you're putting your address details in the beginning of the application. You'll notice that you'll probably perform a little better closer to the zip code, but it works just as well because you have that service area portion where you can list all of the service areas you want to show up in.
Okay. Sounds like that might be quite nuanced, I guess, for service area businesses and bricks and mortar dentists.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that is this, because we get this question often, like especially with lawyers. They'll have, say California, maybe 20 offices, right? So 20 GPPs maybe for the whole entire state. And so they say, well, can I use my LA office and just advertise in Whittier, which is like 2 hours or an hour away or something like that? And the answer to that is sure, you can do that. You can just set up a designation for the city of Whittier, and that's no problem. But what you're going to suffer there is a conversion factor, because your address is going to still show as in LA, and all your reviews are going to be from LA. So yeah, that's so it's a good idea just to set up another LSA. And people ask that account too, is like, can I have multiple LSAs? And the answer is yes, but not in the same area.
Okay. Trevor asks, do business citations factor at all in ranking for LSAs?
No.
Just as much as geotagging does.
Unfortunately not.
No.
No, Trevor, those aren't important, not for LSAs. And Troy again, I'd really like to know if there is an automated way to download that lead report, or any way to connect automatically to download the leads into my CRM.
Not yet. I do get this question often though, but there's nothing yet.
Oh, so what would someone have to do? They have to manually download it and then pop it into their CRM like that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can export a CSV. The API that's being used is the Google Ads API. So there is no specific LSA API, unfortunately. Okay.
Cool. Thank you. Sue asks, if a business pursues LSA ads, is that in lieu, I love that word, in lieu of other types of Google ads, or can it be in addition to search ads?
In addition.
Definitely can be in addition.
Do it all, Sue, if it's working.
Yes.
But I will say this, I mean, we have a lot of our clients, they will shift their budgets. They will move money from PPC to LSA. And the reason is very simple. A, you're going from a pay-per-click to a pay-per-lead, right? And again, pay-per-lead is going to convert it at around 60%. Whereas your pay-per-click, 100 people can click on your ad and you might not get anything, right? So, but yeah, and also on top of that, it's like, just look at the order. It's LSA at the top, then pay-per-click, right? So it would stand to make more sense that about 30% of traffic is actually getting diverted back into LSA. But you should do both if it makes sense to your business.
Yeah. So just be clear on what you're measuring. So yeah, get your framework in order so you know what is providing value, I guess, isn't it? Okay. Angel asks, is it possible to block certain phone numbers from calling our Google local service ad to protect us from paying for calls from angry customers?
I love that. Angry customers.
Yes.
You need to sort out those angry customers. Make them happy customers.
So the answer is no. You cannot block phone
But
numbers.
you can dispute the lead.
Exactly.
Okie dokie. So using that dispute, it's a 3. The little button thingy, is it? That's where you do
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. Don't abuse the dispute button, by the way. Okay,
No, I
that
didn't
will.
like this lead. I didn't like this lead.
Yeah,
I didn't.
exactly. And another tip on disputing why not is that, for instance, with HVAC, so heating and air. So we'll talk about heating actually. With heating, so there's gas heaters and then there's oil heaters, right? Google cannot tell the difference between the two. It's just heaters to them. So we've just gotten that asked many times. Is like, well, I don't do oil, so why I shouldn't be billed for that? Yes, you're going to get billed for that. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Jennifer asks, we have 3 locations that are a couple of hours apart with one LSA account covering all 3 via service areas. Can you tell Jennifer how they'd separate those into 3 accounts?
Go for it, Crystal.
3 separate locations. So you could target one location for one specific area, apply for another LSA account, focus on a separate area, and then apply for a third account and focus on a separate area. Each area has to be different from each other in order for it to work. But if you only have one Google business profile for those locations, no, I don't.
Well, if you have one GBP, it can only be connected to one LSA.
Yeah, but I kind of rethought that process. Since there's 3 different locations, I would assume there's not one Google business profile, so I stopped.
And also, you do not have to have a Google business profile to have an LSA.
That's why I thought I probably should not open that because there's a lot to it. Sorry, guys.
Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, what do we got next? Stephen asks, any experience to report with the general contractor category? Most categories are well defined, but general contractor can be anything. It seems a bit broad for the purpose. What do we think of that category? Do you have anyone?
We know there's, we do. I mean, there's painters in general contractors.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other ones? What are the other subs?
I think it also offers remodeling. Like everything seems to be, let's try this. So let's cluster it under general contractor. So it does seem a bit scattered. Yeah.
So yeah.
Can you put that in your feature, in your request, in your little list?
Sure.
To maybe split them off. Stephen, what would you like? Give us the specific category. It must be a problem though if you are working in an industry and then something with lots of different like facets and services is lumped into one thing. That must be quite tricky.
Yeah, it is, and it gets even more tricky. It gets even more frustrating actually when you have somebody who's in a category that should be in local service ads but is not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess just waiting to see when they add more. Let's see the next question. So we are in a highly saturated area of real estate agents who run LSA ads. How can we stand out? From Southern Belle Living.
Reviews.
We've done this one, haven't we? Reviews.
Photos. Yeah. I would for real estate. I mean, I'd be uploading photos, a lot of photos. Feature properties.
Test out the service areas. Yeah.
Okie dokie. Any experience or tips for local service ads listings for lawyers apart from 1, don't run them, and 2, manage your expectations?
Perfect, Claire.
Managing expectations, big time. However, I will say this: if you're in another category other than personal injury, you're going to do okay. Yes. It's like family law. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Gosh, let's see. It's like family law, employment law is. It's okay. It's not great. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, they other categories are going to do really well.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So it's the personal injury that is the super competitive.
Yes,
Okay,
it definitely
cool.
is.
Yeah. Always manage your expectations on that one.
Okay. Right, what have we got next? It's a question for a dental office that has 3 locations in one city. So would you recommend having one LSA account or separate ones for each location? Because each of those locations has their own Google business profile.
Separate ones. Oh, go for separate ones.
Yep. Go for separate ones.
Is that purely to do with like granularity in terms of management?
Budget.
It could be a budget. You have more control of your budget. Plus, dental is fairly new. So why not have some different locations show up in different areas?
Yeah.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. There we go, Dan.
Take advantage of it.
Joseph says, when you say the leads convert at 60%, is that after you remove all of the spam leads, or is that for all LSAs in general, or across them, or for certain industries?
I'll tackle this one, Crystal. So when we're talking about leads converting at 60%, of course, it's absolutely going to be after you remove spam leads, because you can't convert a spam lead. If you can, you're a superhero, by the way. I would love to listen to that phone call. No, but seriously.
No, please.
But seriously, so the 60% is, I would say it's very generalized as far as a number. It's just something that we see. Is that when your LSAs are being managed properly, you're doing all of the little things inside of LSA that really matter, is that 6 out of 10 calls, which are valid, will usually convert into a sale or just basically be a very good lead. But of course, that number is tricky, right? Because, you could have people calling in, let's say you're doing HVAC and you're booked. So if you're booked, that person's going to move on to the next one because they need somebody right away. So it doesn't take into account those kinds of factors.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Do verified reviews count more heavily towards ranking yet? That's from Adam.
Not yet.
Nope.
Not yet.
We recommend 3 GBP reviews for every 1 LSA review. Big thing is you can't reply to an LSA review. So, and you never know when verified reviews are. We never know who knows? Google could take them away next year for all we know.
Right. Verified reviews do not transfer into your Google business profile, so you'd have to work on both as well.
Yep.
Wow. Okie dokie. What have we got next? Will call booking help in ranking? Where are we going with that one? What does that mean?
So it's an additional option where you can call, message, or book.
Oh, okay.
It can be a conversion factor because you have more options there, but it doesn't increase or decrease your rank by not having it.
Okie dokie. I hope that helps, Nitin. What have we got next? Joseph, in your experience, do you see better return on investment when you use LSAs versus PPC versus both?
You're going to see better ROI on LSA, period. The cost is significantly less than pay-per-click. And the conversion rate is significantly higher than pay-per-click.
Ooh, we'll be rounding up shortly. So we've probably got time for a few more. Let's crack through them. Let's see. Michael just said in the chat, 50 minutes plus of Q&A is amazing. It's like, whoa. 24-hour sponsored Q&A. How does an agency get the gold LSA designation you mentioned from Ronnie?
I think Ronnie's talking about the gold Google business.
Yes.
Google, business profile product expert.
So we probably won't touch on that, Ronnie. We might drop something in the chat.
I will say it. Well, I guess I'll throw this out there because, like, for instance, we're a managed partner So being a managed partner is not an easy thing to get. It is largely dependent on how much you spend as far as your customers go, but there are other factors that kind of come into play as well. So just keep at it.
There we are. Joseph asks, when you're on the phone with a customer and you know they're going to dispute the call, should you be detailed in your response that is being recorded?
Yeah. I would get off the phone as quickly as possible, and also make sure you're saying, no, this isn't a service we cover, or no, that's not a job type that we offer.
Yep.
Okay.
And also put it in your notes.
Yes.
So nice and clear and short then, really. Fabulous. I think we've got time for a couple more, hopefully. Are we going to have one? Will one pop up? Oh, LSAs. Is it doable for the roofing industry, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
Kurt, yes. Do it.
Yeah, heck yes, is actually really what it is.
Why do you think? Why? It's just because it's not competitive, or there's a lot of volume of search.
Low cost, number one, and high return. I mean, when you're doing roofing jobs, it's a lot of money.
Okay.
Usually.
Kurt, you need to get on the LSAs now, by the sound of it. Just go for it. That's the answer. Russ asks, on the job category, it only seems to be for tradespeople. Why is there nothing for IT services, website design, etc.?
I wish they did.
I do too. But it seems to be more focused towards the services.
I don't know. I mean, when we met with them at Google and met with the LSA team, we asked the same question, and they said it's probably not going to happen at any time in the foreseeable future. Why? I have no idea.
Luck of the draw then, isn't it, really, I guess? Or they have their own secret reasoning that is a secret. Let's see, what have we got next? Any list of new verticals coming in the future? Do you know anything about these things, you two? What's the secret sauce?
If we did, we couldn't tell you. It was cool because we found out how many was it? This about 3 months, 4 months about dental before it came out, something like that.
We did.
Yeah, so you just got to keep your eyes peeled then, I guess, to see what's happening, maybe check in. It looks like we're up on the timing. So many questions. There was the questions were awesome. Thank you very much for those. As lots of people have been saying, can we watch the recording? Basically, as soon as we all say bye-bye, which we'll be doing in a moment, it's going to be live on the YouTube channel. And I think that Jen is going to drop a link to that in the chat now. So what we need to do is say a super duper big thank you to the two of you. Thank you so much for all of your time and for all of your insights. And I think let's do it again. And on the slides here, we've got Ben. So if you want to follow Ben, you can find him on Twitter at
the social dude.
That is correct. And then Crystal, where can we find you?
On Twitter at I am Crystal Horton.
Because she is.
Because she really, really is.
She really is.
It's Google guaranteed that she is. So thank you again. Thank you, both of you. And thank you very much for coming along, everyone that was here today. Just a reminder to sign up to the Bright Local newsletter. So that's the weekly digest with all of the news, latest local SEO news, invitations to the webinars, and all of those things. You can see the link there. So I just want to say thank you very much to the two of you for coming along, and for everyone behind the scenes. And thank you for attending.
I want to thank everybody in the comments. I mean, because the questions were freaking awesome.
They were amazing.
This is like the Oscars acceptance speech, is it? I want to thank everyone that made this possible. Okay, thank you. Let's all wave until we get turned off.
Okay.